And welcome back, everybody, to the Gears Pro League Split 2, our third series about to go down, and it is going to be a great one between Kansas City Pioneers as well as our new team, Purified, right? Toti on that roster. Can't wait to see them play. I'm Taylor Reflection, though. We're joined by Jacob MVPR, and this series is going to be a good one. The champs are now playing with a new guy.
Yep, it's going to go to show that this is going to be the moment these teams have to kind of end the streak of the Pioneers, just to kind of put it, simply put. These guys have been dominating, terrorizing Gears Esports for a while, but they're back with a familiar face. So honestly, I think they're still going to be the team to beat.
Yeah, familiar face indeed. The highest placement Pioneers then Vanquish was able to get was third place during a major, but I think things might be a little bit different. Now, what are we talking about? Well, let's break it down for you. Let's take a look at the roster for the Pioneers. Of course, this new face joining into the mix is going to be Bronny. Precision no longer playing as of right now, or at least he has retired, so he says. So Hndles, Acells, Xysho, and Bronny. You can't replace Precision. I think we can say that a lot of times for any of the guys that have retired, right? They were legends in their own right. But Bronny is a guy that has always... We've always talked about him in terms of we need to see him on a good roster. We need to see him on a roster that can complement and play around him, right? So I think Bronny, like I said before at the beginning of the show, this is the roster. If Bronny's ever going to be a champion, well, this is it.
I mean, if anybody's going to be a champion, it's going to be with this roster for the most part. And I think Bronny fits in with this roster very, very well. And, rightfully so. He was on this roster quite a few times before, but his run and gun play style, his in-your-face aggression matches that of Acells, Hndles, and Xysho. So it's going to be a good question mark if they're going to be missing Precision, or we're going to see a new look dominant Pioneer squad that's going to be going up against this Purified roster, who have a big debut, not only for the roster themselves, but the organization as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Purified, first time in Gears Pro League, and they've got a stacked roster. Let's take a look at them, because you might recognize, well, you recognize everybody. Let me not kid myself. But at least I'm going to call them the core three, okay? You got Gary, Addvers, Kardia. These guys obviously playing the Elevate roster, right? The roster that always was talked about as the Dark Horse team, now playing with Toti. Now, this is a roster, in my opinion, screams teamwork, screams goal-oriented, okay? Slaying powerhouse, well, yeah, in a way, sort of, not really, but team orientation plus Toti being, I assume, that IGL. He was the IGL for Noble. It makes sense for him to be the IGL here. This is a roster that is not even going to be a sleeper pick. Like, this is a roster that you need to take seriously. I think Purified's going to make a lot of waves in Pro League for Split 2.
Yeah, I think right now for me, it's too soon for me to kind of put my same ticket in there like that, but because Toti coming through, I look at this roster of Elevate. They started off strong last split, but then they just fell flat. They were losing game after game. They look like a shadow of what they've seen in Toti coming from that Noble roster, multiple Grand Finals appearances. I kind of scratched my head how he ended up on this roster, but at the same time, I think a leader, an IGL that comes with experience, is exactly what this roster needed to take themselves to the next level. So I'm just going to hold my opinions to myself right now, especially until I kind of see the picks and bans.
Sure, and that's fair. I think Toti he brings a level of conviction. He wants to be a champion. He wants to be the first, guy to bring a championship to Latin America, and he has that opportunity to do so. So Toti is a guy that, again, I think just really, truly believes in his craft and believes in Gears Esports, and that's what I like about him being on the roster. And I think now no longer being on Noble, obviously everybody's splitting ways, I do think Toti is going to bring a lot of value and... for lack of better words, intensity to this roster to be the best. So I think that's what he brings. You did mention, though, obviously the map picks. We'll get to that in a second, but I want to hone in on two players, and let's focus on the two new players, right? We got to focus on Bronny, and we got to focus on Toti. Two very different players in their own rights. Now, when you think about Bronny, you think about his explosive playstyle, his ability to clutch up, his ability to be able to make crazy plays, right? And that's kind of what you thought about Precision. But even with all that being said, Toti being the IGL, being how he plays, he still has the better stats, plus he has that big brain.
I think you just have to look at these stats and know the full story. Otherwise, these stats might take you down a road that might not necessarily be a road full of truth. So when I look at these stats, we know what Toti did with that Noble squad. You're 100% correct. He leaded this squad. He dominated as a leader and as that support player they need. But Bronny, was not lucky enough to have that same type of surrounding and supporting cast. He played what I do believe that Oxygen Esports roster, and they honestly, you know, putting it bluntly, are not this same Pioneers roster. That's like going from a AAA baseball team to the Giants in 2007. It's like going from it's basically the Buccaneers right now. You add Tom Brady, you add Gronkowski, and you become a Super Bowl championship team. And that's just completely different. I think Bronny's stats just don't do him justice, because I believe he will fit in so perfectly with this team.
I agree. I really do. And I think he is, if you had to pick a replacement, Bronny is a good replacement in a way for Precision, because again, Precision was a guy that if he was put in a crazy, you know, just play where it's like, man, you know, no one can make it out of that. Only one player can, and that was Precision. I feel Bronny is along the same lines. Like, again, when he makes crazy plays, it's like, wow, you know, no one could have done that better, or no one could have done that aside from Bronny. Maybe you throw Powers into the mix. Precision obviously was there, but, you know, just speaking in regards to what Bronny does. But Bronny is haunted by inconsistencies. There are times when Bronny is playing at a level where I'm just like, wow, he's incredible. But there's also times where Bronny is playing at a level I'm like, wow, you know, would he even be impressive in the Challenger Series? And I hate to be that extreme, but that is true. Now, granted, he's on a much different roster, and maybe those rosters in the past didn't push him as much. I think he is going to be at a different level, especially today. That honeymoon phase is going to be really kicking in hard. Got a lot to say about him, but let's take a look at the math before we do, because Jacob, that was something you wanted to kind of hone in on, so I'll let you take the reins for it.
Yeah, just looking at these maps, just already, I didn't even see the final. I'm looking away now because I've seen the first three, and that has already told me enough. Regency control, it's going to get aggressive, it's going to get messy. Check out, we're going to have an absolute bloodbath, smoke flashes and body parts everywhere, and the same could be said about Vasgar. First and third maps picked by Pioneers, rightfully so, because for them, it's just a plug and play with Bronny in their eyes. They're going to get aggressive, they're going to topple over these games. But for this Purified roster, man, they're going to have to dig deep. If they don't have any new tricks up their sleeve, they're going to be singing that same song and dance they were singing the last half of that last split, where they weren't having too many victories, they weren't having too many fun times. And I think Toti might regret his decision, but I always say it is too early. We haven't even played a single second of the game just yet. Purified could definitely show out and show big, but when I look at these maps, I don't know. I really don't know if that's the case.
I don't know the map specifically, but I have been hearing rumblings that Purified has been scrimming, and they have been looking really good when they do scrim, okay? Now, it's scrims, not pro league. It's not majors. Well, it's practice, but Purified has been practicing, and they have been performing well during that practice. Now, of course, you have to put it into into execution here, which they'll be able to do. I'm assuming, anyways. But the point that I'm getting at is, I think a lot of people are going to sleep on Purified. I could be totally wrong after this, but I think Purified is truly going to put up a tremendous fight here, and a lot more than we were even expecting. And for KCP, they're playing with Bronny now. And Bronny's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. More on that in a little bit. But let's talk about our predictions, because, this one seems pretty clear-cut. And it kind of is. I'm going with KCP, right? I think I got to go with Pioneers. Got to go with the champs. I believe in Bronny. But look, it was, honestly, I thought about going Purified here. I really did. Because I think Purified, with Toti being on the roster, with, they're not going to be able to outslay teams like E United. They're not going to be able to outslay teams like, obviously right here in KCP. But I do believe if they have that team orientation that they had, as they were Elevate, now obviously with Toti, I think they could beat the best of them. So, but I'm going with KCP. Long story short, Jacob, who you going with?
I like the way you did mention like practice and scrims. As many jokes as I want to make, like it's just practice. It means absolutely nothing because they're collecting scrim bucks, which can't buy you a bag of chips at a grocery store. But one thing I will have noticed throughout the entirety of KCP, and make sure you guys hit record because I'm about to gas you guys up, they know how to find talent. They got Weeded. If you guys don't know who he is, Google him. They have a phenomenal Halo roster that's breaking out and taking names. And they have Bronny back on this team. And I think Bronny is going to be a driving force in this roster. It may not click in the matter of seconds, but before this series is over, he is going to show you why he deserves to be on this team with the KCP roster that's going to take the series.
All right, KCP. And I do believe chat is going to be going with KCP as well. From what I was seeing, it's pretty one-sided. I'm not going to lie, but that gives Purified all the momentum, right? Because Toti, it's fine. He could see that, and he's seen that before, right? When KCP played against Noble, remember, during the last split number 1, Noble ended up beating them, and everybody was going with KCP, including myself, right? But Noble surprised. And Toti has been known, on that Noble roster to always start Pro League very strong with the victory. And, KCP, even when they were playing with precision, sometimes would take they would take L's in the day one. So it's not uncharacteristic for them to lose day number 1, which they could. And Jacob, just to quote you, by the way, you talk about scrimming and practice. I love your quote from last split. If you never practice, you'll never form any bad habits. And you know what? I agree wholeheartedly with that, Jacob. So
most of them,
but I
think a lot
factual.
of these people, it's just, that works if you already have your foundation for Rise. You see them split after split, getting better. You don't need to pick up those bad habits. For some of these guys, though, you need to rebuild. You need to start with that foundation. I think Purified, even though you said, with their scrim bucks cashing in, they are looking good. But now when the shining or the lights are bright from the main stage, everything's shiny. You might have a little sweat dripping off your forehead. It's time to put up or shut up. Let your gameplay do the talking. And I will say that's one thing from these players on this Purified roster. You never see them talking too big on Twitter. You never see them talking too big on social media. They let their gameplay do the talking for them.
And I like that. I respect that quite a bit. I do like the polarizing figures we have in Gears, but also all esports and traditional sports. But I also like those quiet type players or those quiet type athletes who, just let it show on the court. It's like, okay, I'm going to show you there instead of the Twitter fingers. So, it's the best of both worlds. But I think both have to exist in order to make things exciting regardless, though. But I do expect Bronny to have the honeymoon phase. Like, it's going to be real tonight. He's playing with KCP and he knows. Like, it's either A, he's going to have the honeymoon phase and he's going to be one of the best players at least tonight for KCP, or B, the pressure's really going to hit him hard and he's just going to fall flat. And I don't know which one it's going to be. I'm hoping it's the first one instead of the latter. But let's talk about that pressure, right? Because Jacob, you've been a competitor.
Yeah. You've
been a coach against some of the best rosters out there. And, you've been watching Gears forever. But, that pressure is real. We talked about KCP building this dynasty, and they were building that dynasty. They're becoming, they hadn't lost a tournament in 4 months. They still haven't lost technically a tournament in like 4 months, So with that being said, Bronny is, in my opinion, he has more pressure put on him this time around than even maybe TJ has whenever he joined in on that old UIU roster. He's got some big shoes to fill, brother.
Now, he definitely has some big shoes. There is going to be that pressure. But to me, it's more so pressure on Bronny as an individual. We know what the rest of his teammates can do. We know what they bring to the table, especially as that core 3 roster. I just need Bronny to just play like himself. Just play like Bronny. Play like the reason why you got picked up. Because we've seen so many players in this situation where we as a community, we as casters, we put that unfair pressure on it. Last time I feel like the biggest comparison would be when Mental kind of retired. TJ steps in. People were looking about how is TJ going to replace Mental? How is he going to do what Mental does? And after a while, I just said, throw that one out the window. It's not about what he's going to do to replace Mental. It's what this squad is going to do moving forward. And I think KCP, the 3 players kind of know that already. No pressure being put on Bronny. It's just, is he in his own head? That's going to be one question mark that I'm looking throughout this matchup, whether if it's a quick 3-0 or a 3-2, is Bronny in his own head?
Yeah, that's the big thing. And that's what I was kind of bringing to the forefront. Like Bronny, he's got to let all that pressure just literally just go away. Like he can't listen to all the noise. If he's having a bad game, whatever, and it's inevitable. It's going to happen. If Bronny's playing bad, Twitch chat is going to be like, well, Bronny needs to be dropped, this and that. Was he the right pickup? Like, but that's to be expected, right? Because KCP, they are the champs. They've been the champs. No one's been able to beat them. If they all of a sudden start playing badly, I would be really hard pressed for anybody to blame Acells, Hndles, and Xysho off the rip because they've proven they could be champions, right? So the X factor would be Bronny. And I hate to build the storyline like it is, but it's true because Bronny is coming into a championship roster, and if KCP doesn't perform well or perform at the standard that they've been, well, then you could put a lot of emphasis onto Bronny, even if somebody else is performing well. I'll try to be as fair as possible, but I also want to take a step back, and I do want to say this. I do believe in Bronny, and I have believed in Bronny in the past, and I still do. So, like I said, this is the roster. If he's ever going to be a champion, or as you said, Jacob, anybody's going to be a champion, this is the roster to do it on. Hands down, bottom line, period.
Let me ask you, I feel like you asked me this question, before, and I'm gonna go ahead and put it on. Who wins the first major?
I didn't ask you that first and foremost. That was
Somebody asked me that question. I don't know who did. I was I answered it in a matter of 6.2 seconds.
You did. You did. Who wins the next major?
I mean, right now,
6.2.
It wasn't 6.2. It might have been quicker. I don't even know.
I want to make it clear. I was sure. KCP.
It was KCP. Right now, if you're coming into this split and you're coming into this season and you think somebody else is going to win, I need a good reason. I need a good reason. If you say discipline, don't even talk to me. Don't even talk to me.
Well, why?
That's all I gotta say.
I mean, I'm not gonna say they lost. Well, enough of that. But no, when it comes to who's gonna win the major, you really put me on the spot. I'm gonna say 2 teams. And I'm gonna narrow it down to 1.
We can change it halfway through the season. We can ask again halfway through the season.
I think right now the forerunners for me, and this was me thinking even before the matches took place, just looking at the rosters and the changes they made. E United is a forerunner to win a championship.
I agree.
Loved, and especially now after watching them play against Rebel, I love what I'm seeing. I really do. Now, second team, it's got to be KCP. It really does. I put a lot of emphasis though on Bronny playing the way he plays. He's just got to come. Honestly, I think he's going to fit like a glove. Like I said, with his play style, kind of emulating that of precision, I think he's going to be just fine. But who do I think is actually going to win the major? Weirdly enough, and this is because I haven't seen KCP play just yet, I probably would go with the United. Who would win the major? I really would.
I like though. Honestly, it's hard when you have United and KCP.
It's hard. It's in a way, it's an unfair question because it's like we haven't seen enough, right? And I haven't seen KCP play. That ideology could change after KCP plays tonight. And it also could change depending on how they play against Rebel, right? Whenever that matchup does take place, will they struggle a bit harder against Rebel or not? And then you could question maybe E United's a stronger team. But my gut's saying right now, E United is a front runner to win the next major, depending on how KCP plays this matchup.
I like it though because, like I said, I think they had a good roster change. Pioneers had a good roster change. Rise. You'd think on paper, bringing it in some, they're going to be slow at first. They made a good roster change, but it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. And unfairly, that's why I said we can talk again in a few weeks to see if your idea changes. But just on paper, they got to be the number 1 team to kind of have everybody's predictions. I think that E United roster change was really good. But just go ahead and let me know.
But that's such a loaded question. Like, who's going to win the major?
It is loaded. It's one of those questions that have any person you ask might have a different answer. And I love the reason why. That's kind of why I asked the question. It's not so much for the team that you choose, but the reasons why. Because right now we're just in the beginning of the split, and this is the split where a lot of these young guns now have a chance to be the household name in Gears Esports. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, the young guns are performing very well. Performing very well indeed. I don't know. KCP grinded, and Force says KCP winning because they grind this game hard. I agree. But I also think like Rise broke that mold. Rise was also grinding or not grinding, in the last split. It's clear they weren't scrimming and they still did as well as they did. They won Pro League. So to each their own. Everybody has their own style. Some people kind of take a step back. Some people take a step forward and continue to grind, and it works for them. But I don't know. I don't know who's going to win it. You got a lot of forerunners. I think, like I said, my gut's just saying E United. That was a great victory over Rebel. But then again, how strong is Xysho? I can discuss this all day, man.
We got time.
I really could. I don't know.
We got time. We definitely got time. In case you guys are wondering, it's the players. They're trying to get in the lobby, trying to get on the same team. As they do that, we're just feeling. We love to hear ourselves talk. I don't think we'd be casters otherwise if that was false. But I want to go ahead and ask the chat. Bring it over to the chat. Who do you guys think is going to win the major? We know how Reflections thinks your predictions will go. Let's see if you can change his mind.
I don't know about that. You could try. I'm a stubborn guy. I really am. You could try. I'm a stubborn guy. But I do want to hear, Bitter Lover saying Taylor with the bold prediction. I don't know. I mean, look, I'm just throwing things out there. Like, Rise also played incredibly well against Xysho. I was really impressed with the way they played. One thing that they could be lacking on is control. Like that's very apparent. Maybe Xysho is just literally in another world when it comes to control. We'll see as they play more teams, but on control they did struggle a bit, despite them winning the second control. But it was still relatively close. But I am curious what you guys have to think. So, and I do love the bold prediction. That's what Hunter said. That's factual.
That's what you got to do. Sometimes in order to be the champion, you just got to throw one out there. And I know you haven't had that success just yet because I'm back to back back-to-back champion. I'm going to keep throwing it out there week after week after week. I think Blaze might be the only other person to kind of have a title. So shout out Blaze. We can go get some victory drinks.
I don't know how to be a champion. Hold up.
You did win one, huh?
I don't know how to be a champion.
Oh my God. It must have been such a not fun season, huh?
This is 100% gold-plated plastic right here, bro. And I won this. Okay? Probably just
lucky I don't have my props around. I just have my house cleaned and
because you don't. And this is the thing, because you can't claim being champion anymore. Even if you had the prop, it doesn't matter. You tied me. Okay, no, we have time. You want to get deep with this? We'll get deep with this. That's fine.
Please.
Yeah, you got the. I don't have my glasses. I put them on too.
Talk to me.
So this is the thing. There was very early on in Pro League last split, right? There was a specific matchup. I don't know who they were playing, but Fire and Ice was playing. And I had pumped up Chavi to the max. I said, man, this roster is going to be, the standout team. They're gonna surprise everybody. They went on to not win anything. But that's okay, because they still played well, in my opinion. They just, couldn't get over the edge, get over the hump of winning. But easy E looking. But anyways, whenever it comes down to that matchup, I went with Fire and Ice. I retracted that and said, man, let me go with the other team, because I don't think F and I is really going to win this. And I was told no. I was told no, because I had pumped up Chavi so much. You're going with Fire and Ice. I took an L there. I lost to Jacob by one. Well, we tied. Never forget I even said I didn't lose to Jacob. But we tied in predictions because of that. Otherwise, I would have beat him by one. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not even going to touch what happened the next split before that. Okay? I'm not even going to touch, because Jacob, I'm not going to touch what happened and why you ended up tying me, and then we ended up doing the tiebreaker in the tournament. As far as I'm concerned, Jacob, I'm the champ. 3 times in a row.
You done yet?
I mean, I said what I got to say.
Because all I got to say is, and you can ask a lot of these teams that have been losing to the Pioneers.
Yeah.
Losers make excuses. Champions, we just get the job done. Get the job done. Yeah. And the thick and thin, man, I wanted to change my predictions here and there. I wanted to go ahead and make some changes, but guess what? I stuck to my guns, and that made me 3-time back-to-back champion. And that's one of the things me and the Pioneers will have in common. Not only, I said one of many things we'll have in common, because we're champions. We're multi-time champions. We're back-to-back champions.
So good.
I don't think I've lost in as long as the Pioneers have lost.
You're
I'm just going to go ahead and say Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has never said it better. Just bring it, Jabroni. Just bring it.
7 wonders of the world, man. You're the 8th. Jacob, you really are spectacular. Seriously. You have Stonehenge. How was that made? What was it for? And then you have Jacob. It's like, man, he is just incredible. Can't lose. Can't take an L. Can't take an L.
I'm going to take you. I'm going to take you on a date. It's not going to be a good one. It's going to be the SmackDown Hotel. You keep trying to step up to my predictions.
You take me to dinner, man, but I'm going to make it expensive, though. Jacob, I'm going to make it expensive.
Damn. Honestly, I'm be okay with that.
Cheeseburger from McDonald's.
I went to the steakhouse on Ruth's birthday. I had the best black Cajun rub. We just went from enemies to friends. I love it.
Oh, God, that was weird. All right, so Purified versus Pioneers. I'm liking a PD gamer tag, by the way. PD Gary, Toti, Kardia, and then Addvers. Excellent stuff, man. No, this is a great start overall, though. It's very scrappy. Kardia is going to get chunked, and Gary now, no leg to stand on. And KCP has to worry about Toti, but they're not too worried, I guess. And they're going to go ahead and secure the hill and get the first points in the matchup.
Yep, phenomenal start. Shot grenade in the middle. The only players even in that positioning would have had to leave towards the middle. It's a great heads-up play for Xysho. Just force the rotation out of multiple members, as now Bronny finds himself towards the back line by himself. Another player in Hndles getting eliminated. So 2 players getting taken out for the Pioneers. That's going to open it wide open, but the Purified have to be careful here. With only 30 seconds left, you might need to save one back to play for that next spawn all simultaneously.
Absolutely. Kardia.
Yep, look at Bronny.
Kardia in bar in hand. You said, look at Bronny. I'm taking a look. Yeah, he's going to be over there challenging player 3 of Kardia. He's got to watch out for that M-bar, though. Big battle for spawn control. Bronny's going to try and establish it early on. And he is going to have some company relatively soon. Again, the biggest issue is Kardia, because he does have that angle. You don't want to get that head blown off too early. And maybe a bit of an audible, as Kardia is going to go ahead and back up. Maybe head over Is he handing okay, he's handing Totia. What? He's handing Toti the M-bar, and they're going to be it. So it looks like as if Purified may be going for a pincer retake at this moment.
I see PD and I think cops. And I think they're ready to thrust into this crime scene and kind of figure out what happened as Toti revving up that M-bar, just kind of making players jump around and kind of lead themselves to safety. Multiple spots going out for the Kansas City Pioneers, though. So they're going to see these players traversing through the smoke to get some easy shots. You see everybody stopped in their tracks. Kardia getting shut down. Everybody's just being funneled back. Nobody able to gain any inches on the side of Purified. And this is where you see Bronny going wide to make them uncomfortable as can be with that Lancer fires. Addvers takes the brunt of it. He's going to go down. Chain revives, forcing these players in. Look at the kill feed getting lined up with just simply downs. They're getting put in the blender. A frag grenade toss to try to distract Bronny, but it's not going to be enough. The Pioneers will hold on to a fantastic, almost picture-perfect defense.
Oh, brother, doesn't look like they skipped a beat at all, even though they are missing precision. Bronny's fitting in like a glove. 82-19, and KCP looking like that championship roster they have always been. Toti still M-bar in hand, focused on the next hill. Gary, he's going to go ahead and go for it, but Xysho, whoa, that was almost a beautiful kill to let Gary pass him and then to take down Toti. I don't know if he planned that per se, but Toti was ready, revved up, and he ends up taking him down, and therefore they've got a good foothold potentially to take over the next hill depending, but at least stopping down the rotation. Pioneers, they're going to be on the low side.
All they need to do is connect with shots. Simply put, connect with shots. We're going to hit the body, probably take him out, back-to-back M-bar shots. You see multiple players going down low for the hill. Kardia is going to be the flex player, bouncing back and forth because he does have that Lancer. Toti giving up that back positioning where the spawn point is at, which is okay at this moment in time, simply because no players are dead and on respawn.
She just realized it's Cardi B. I didn't know that. Hey, man, I'm an idiot. Straight up. Hey, who was that? Hades Drip Baby, I appreciate you. Yo, I don't listen to Cardi B. I'm gonna be real with you, but I just realized that Cardi B, baby. Except it's Kardia. Gosh, what? I don't know. Woo, nice shot. Wow. Xysho down. Close that gap, baby. Hndles is right above you. Bronny's also on the opposite end. Pioneers might win this still, and they do.
Yeah, Acells is able to get through that spawn point. Lancer players in toward the side. Purified, they get that spawn point instantly right back. But I will say, depending on how much time is left on the hill, you might have to think about making a rotation outward. But it does look like they're going to funnel 4 players straight into the hill to at least contest it at first. If they find themselves with elimination, they'll bleed it dry. But Toti goes down first. Quickly revived back into it by Cardi B as 4 players trying to position themselves and get KCP out. But KCP is doing a good job defensively, standing with the shotgun, putting that crossfire down along with Hndles. Back A's over the top, and it looks like they will be the last team standing, collect the remaining time on this hill as the Pioneers will cement themselves as one of the best teams yet again.
And I don't have Colin here, obviously, to take down notes about team fights, but Pioneers has won quite a bit of them, if not all of them, at this point in time, right, Jacob? And that's something you do expect when it comes down to the Pioneers. And you know what I do appreciate from this? Like, Bronny is playing well, but he's not standing out as opposed to everybody else is kind of doing their thing. It really does feel like the old KCP roster, just minus precision.
Yeah, it's looking like it's just plug and play here at this point in time, but... Yeah. Be too soon to tell, but he connects over the top with a shot onto Addvers. Another body shot on a weak player as he goes down, tries to finish over the top. He does have reinforcements there, trying to bank that flash off the wall, which is absolutely perfect to get the stun, forcing the late revive. Great plays by Bronny. It's like precision is still here.
It is. It really is. I'm impressed. And you know what? I kind of, low-key expected that because Bronny, again, kind of fits the same playstyle that Precision implemented onto this KCP roster. So you talk about adjusting. Well, you're not really adjusting so much, right? You look at other guys like Dyslexic replacing Kenny. That's tough to do, especially with Dyslexic, quote-unquote, being the IGL for the roster. There's big adjustments that take place. There's same thing for this X-Elevate roster with Toti joining into the mix, right? You have to think about maybe him coming in with a different ideology and play style and different moves and different strategies, whereas Bronny fitting into KCP, well, he just fits in where he always did, and Xysho's still the IGL, and it, like you said, it's plug and play. It really is plug and play.
It's not skipping a beat here. Over 140 positive points over their opposition as Xysho just deletes Addvers off of that middle cover. Everybody collecting that time remaining onto the hill. That's going to be Hndles. Everybody trying to go for this next, and they secured it as well. All Hndles has to do is rotate over the top half of the map, and he gets the spawn point. Depending on if they see him, he could get himself a sneaky elimination, but wasting 2 players' time. Pops 1, gets 2, back-to-back. Toti and Gary are taken down. Positioning goes over to Hndles. Nobody's in position really to do anything, so the early portion of this hill, possibly around to the 40-second mark, will go over to the Pioneers.
All right. 213 to 40. Purified struggling to get the ball rolling at all. I mean, really at all. They've lost the majority of the team fight. Xysho outputting the damage. This time he's going to be able to flex his muscles slaying-wise. He is going to be in the hill with Bronny. Good shock, though, to pin Acells and Xysho back. It's a good opportunity for Purified to take over the hill. Bronny, though, wrapping around. 1v3, takes down one, dancing. Tries to close the gap. He's going to be finished off. And you know what? Even in that moment, right, Bronny in a 1v3, you still can't count him out, right? Because we've seen him so many times make miraculous plays, and that's what I like about him. It was the same thing with Precision, the same thing with Bronny.
Yeah, these guys don't even have to go for this side of the map, and that's what you see on your mini-map. Pioneers just conceding it. They're going to that top left portion where the next hill is going to be, while simultaneously trying to collect the weapons where they can. That's going to be a big down if they can clean up Xysho, depending on if they get the meat shield as well. But Xysho, he's going to get pistoled out by Addvers, so grenades are going to be gone. Bronny has held on to that M-bar, which seems like an eternity, keeping it out of the hands of these Purified roster. Reinforcements are there. They have that split angle. As long as they can get some pre-fire damage with the pistol and the Lancer probably connect with an M-bar shot, that's going to be perfect. Or just a headshot.
There it is. You know what? It is pretty awesome, though, to see Bronny utilizing that M-bar. The fact that Pioneers are putting so much faith into him, you can really tell, like, they were comfortable. And again, you go back to when they played with him to get that 3rd place during the major. Just the chemistry's there, you know. The chemistry is absolutely there, and it makes sense. You know, excited to see him on this roster for sure. Hndles, well done. Taking down Kardia B. Not liking the music. Fair enough. It is what it is. Bronny also has some company up ahead. He's got some help, though. Not much. He is going to be dropped, and it looks like Purified is going to take the hill.
Finally showing some life here. Hopefully it's not too little too late, and we see the comeback we've been looking for our return to Gears Pro League. Here is Addvers, one of the most experienced players on this roster, trying to anchor himself, but players going wide is going to force him out of that position. Great shots to get the down, but nobody's able to get the elimination, and even better flash over the top. That's going to allow them to push forward. You see 2 more downs from Hndles, one of them being actually cleaned up. The downs are going to be returned as Hndles waits for his shot. He misses on that player who goes for the back A. 2 players down and out as Xysho now returning to that scene of the crime, though. Puts himself in a 1v2 situation. He's going to fall shortly after, but I think he was just trying to contest. Stop as much time from going through. That way they have as much lead as possible going into this next hill.
Yeah, so Bronny's going to create that distance. A couple players just up ahead looking to push into him, but either way, Acells quickly. And you see how methodical that was? Bronny laying down the Lancer fire, and Acells knew, okay, I can push forward. I'm confident in my ability. And look at this Wolfpack, too, over towards next. Loving what I'm seeing. I really am. And I wish I could say more about Purified, but they're losing 240 to 95, and they're losing the team fights. Definitely not as strong of a transition with Toti as I thought it was going to be. It's only map number 1. We can see definitely maybe a better series as a whole, but I don't foresee Pioneers letting go of the brake or pumping the brakes in this moment, Jacob. I think they're going to cruise to victory pretty handily.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything to kind of prove otherwise here in this scenario. They have a shot grenade in hand, which is going to funnel them off of one of the only 2 entrances to try to break this hill, but Acells gets flanked out. He gets downed out in the back. Xysho forced to use that shot grenade before he does get taken down, which should happen here in a few seconds. So that's going to be 3 players down and out. Bronny all by himself. Let's see what you're made of here. Absolutely nothing in that exchange. As he gets shut down, rightfully so. They did not give him any inches. They did not want to get close to let him get that 1-shot chunk.
Good thing, though, for Purified, obviously getting the time on the hill currently, but they have backed off with Toti. Toti's going to be locking in the spawns and being on high alert for KCP to try and retake that positioning from him. Team fight underway, though. Easy cleanups, it seems. Addvers is going to be dropped. You got one more player to get through, and then you can leave a player behind. Once you take down Gary, there it is, and then go ahead and pressure up onto Toti and Kardia, who's going to be up ahead. Pioneers, they'll take any time, any amount of time they can get, even just 15 seconds, right, Jacob? Because that's going to put them at the 280 mark, 20 points away from victory. 286
if they collect it all. And it looks like you're right. 281 as they're going to get within 19 seconds. I think Gary with that M-bar, it's win or lose for the rest of the team. He goes down, he gives up that M-bar. It's going to be all over as Acells. He gets shut down, traded off as Kardia B is going to fall to Bronny. Gary's just trying to stay alive, gets the help that he needs, but now the point total's going over to the Pioneers. You don't have enough time to sit and wait for that perfect moment. You have to go, and you have to go now. And as 19 now turns to 10, smoke grenades out, flash grenades soon to follow as they continue to try to push forward. Gary's going to go down. Nobody able to get that revive just yet. Addvers falling, N-bar out of play.
Wow.
Bronny pushing forward, taking out Toti, and that's going to be a squad wipe. The Pioneers cement themselves in map number 1 to take it handedly over Purified.
And that is the most dominant win we have seen tonight on broadcast. There have been more dominant wins on side station, but at least for broadcast, that was it. 300 to 150 or 119, excuse me. KCP not missing a beat, and look at that guy on your screen. Bronny MVP. Hey, he's home. He's feeling it. He's feeling good. I said that honeymoon phase is going to be there. I didn't realize he was doing as good as he was. 18 kills, dwarfing everybody on KCP. But the key takeaway, though, is everybody did their part, and KCP looked like the KCP you expect to see, right? The champions. Really, they did. There wasn't a moment where I looked at KCP in that matchup and said, something's off, something's not right. They're not adjusting well. No, like literally identical narrative during that matchup than it would have been with Precision on the roster. And that is a great thing. That's not, and look, don't take that as a dig to Precision at all. I think that, Precision was just as good. He's a champion multiple times, didn't lose for 4 months. But again, the sentiment's the same, man. Jacob, I didn't see anything wrong with KCP in the way they played that.
Honestly, you could have fooled me. You could have lied to me and said, hey, Precision just changes gamer tag at this point. That's all you got to tell me. Oh, that's fine. It looks like it. They're not skipping a beat.
Just a Bronny fanboy.
It's just going forward. Like, if this was a keyboard, he'd be pressing W. He's pressing up and A. He doesn't even have a back thought in his body as he just continues to take over the game. And like I said, Bronny is either going to show up big, because I think the only player that can stop Bronny is him getting in his own head. And I don't think that is going to happen anytime soon.
I don't think it is. Well, I mean, it has happened in the past. It really has. But on this roster, I don't know if it's going to happen. Because, again, what has been the narrative, Jacob? We've always said Bronny needs a roster that plays at his pace. Bronny has always been a high-intensity player. Very, very quick. And it's hard to match that. It really is. But you put him around Xysho, Acells, and Hndles, they have no problem keeping up with them. Really, they have no problem keeping up with them. So I'm really genuinely impressed. I really, really am impressed. I'm impressed. I don't know what else to say. I really don't. Now, as far as Purified though, I don't really know what to say either. They weren't winning team fights. They were rotating quite well. I think their setups were decent, but they just simply got outpaced in the lane category. They lost just about every team fight, So I think strategically they were fine. I think Toti did a wonderful job, or whoever the IGL is, I assume it's Toti, did a wonderful job guiding the troops on the battlefield, but they just simply could not keep up with the slaying power of KCP. Just absolutely could not.
I hope right now, because Toti definitely has his work cut out for him throughout the rest of this series, if he is that IGL,
and it's
is that
unfortunate
defining voice
too. Yeah.
No, it definitely is, man. Coming so close each and every time, inches at moments from blocking spawn points in those championship matches in order to take the series, or at least keep those matches going. Now you go from having that noble squad, being known as one of the squads that could take out the Pioneer squad, to
and they could
having a lackluster performance. And it's not necessarily him as an individual. It just goes to show a lot of the things that ailed the squad last split during their downfall, I should say, their downward trajectory, are still here. And I still think they need to work through those.
Yeah, I think they do. And you know what? It's interesting because we compared the two players of Bronny and Toti. And, you go back to Bronny and the rosters that he did play on, right? Not even comparing the other guys that were on the roster, but, Bronny's most recent roster of Oxygen, which I think did fairly well. That was probably one of the better rosters he was on outside of Vanquish when he filled in for that major. And obviously, the second portion of Pro League. Oxygen was a great team for what it was worth. And he was on Hive before that, I do believe, right? Once he left Vanquish, I think it was. Didn't he join Hive? But whatever roster he was on, that roster didn't have much success. They just didn't have that much success. So the point is like, with Toti, he's a great player, but he needs to be around players that complement his playstyle, or at least can fix some of the issues that he has, which I don't know if there are any at this point, but I'm sure you or Colin or Blaze can maybe, break that down a little bit more. But regardless, though, there's just no comparison. KCP in that first map was just crazy dominant. Crazy.
Yeah, and I think that just goes to show that when you see a lot of these salty kind of pro players, these salty ranked players kind of running to Twitter with their Twitter fingers stronger than the match that they had in the
Yeah.
pro league, and they're saying, hey, Gears has no skill gap, right? Why is KCP dominating? I think a lot of Gears' skill gap isn't necessarily in the form of an individual. I think the skill gap in Gears, especially separating a championship caliber roster between that and like a wannabe championship caliber roster, is the teamwork, is flowing together, the chemistry, the things that you don't have to necessarily call out, that is just muscle memory and happens in a blink of an eye. I think that is one of the major parts and the major factors in a skill gap. In terms of 1v1 shotgun skill, I think, yeah, if you're good enough at the game, there is a ceiling. And I think a lot of casters, a lot of people could say it from different esports. There comes a time in your pro playing career where your individual skill is capped. You can only get so good at the game. So it's all about the decisions that you're making as an individual and as a team that really separate you from the next guy. And I think that's the biggest thing. The Pioneers, you can see it. United already today, you can see that skill gap comes in form of that teamwork. And honestly, why would you want a skill gap to matter in one individual taking over the game? I want the skill gap to be a cool, full cohesive unit, and that's why I kind of like watching these dominant runs from some of these teams.
And I was just sent from goalie Matt Holtman, our executive producer, who runs all these shows. He does a wonderful job. But whenever it comes down to the wiki, he does that. And he sent me Bronny's whole history. The People's Champs is where Bronny started. Okay, the People's Champs. You remember how that roster ended up?
We go full circle, man.
From the People's Champs now to KCP, you want to talk about the come up, all right? Then he was on Papa Chalky Milk. Now I love that roster, but most recently Oxygen, Smeeze, and then Team Queso. So he joined Team Queso, not Hive. I apologize to take that back. So after Vanquish, he ended up joining Team Queso. But look at the start. Let me take a pause. Toti's down Kardia as well, but it is a 2v2. Purified has in fact come back and brought it to a manageable position. But is it going to be enough? Well, Hndles throws out the nades. That should separate Gary. He's choosing to reposition over to the left side. Hndles, though, closing the gap, takes him out of the way, and he is going to get beat down. And it looks like KCP, well, they're not letting that love go, right? That continues on with or without precision.
Yeah. This is to me, it's just this is the skill gap. Like we join into the game with KCP just running amok, getting multi kills, even with a team kill coming in from, I do believe that was Hndles with the frag grenade. It didn't even look close from Purified. It doesn't even look close. And right now, and that's what I'm just going to keep looking at throughout each and every one of the teams here in the league, is how well they work together. And what are those skins, Bronny? Shout you out one time with that drip.
Got the drip, man. You expect that from Bronny, all right? Bronny is just that guy. Good opening start, though. 4v3 first blood coming out from Addvers onto Bronny, who were just talking about the drip. Good ensign. Acells should be dead to right in this moment. Surely it's going to be a Purified round, but Gary does have the sniper, and that's going to hurt Hndles and Acells even more, who just simply can't get away. Gary times out the flames perfectly, gets to clean up, and Purified will win round number 2 to tie it up 1-1.
And that's what you got to do here on checkout. And I like the way they kind of threw this map out instead of the Pioneers picking it, because all last split, or it said checkout, honestly made its appearance. It's one of the most wild maps we'll see, and it's one of the biggest potential maps for an underdog team to take out their opposition because of how quick and how fast you can lose that advantage, especially with a wild smoke or flash. So I wouldn't be surprised here if Purified can take this map and kind of tie up the series, but it's not going to go that easy as Bronny gets first blood, immediately shut down. Great answer back from Addvers.
Great answer back indeed. Toti, nice shot onto Acells. Xysho will mow him down. Should be now to a 2v2. Cardi B, though, with the incense, throws one out, not going to connect. And still one more remaining. We're going to have a bit of a reset. It's going to be a 2v2 for a second. Nade thrown out. Hndles doesn't connect either. So you got Kardia. He's going to have an instant. You have another nade in the hands of Hndles. A lot of utility. This is still up in the air as to who's going to take round number 3.
You want to know what I do here? Cardi B needs to either hit on this left side of the cover and swing the ensign from inside of the cover, or go behind that bookshelf and throw that ensign from behind the bookshelf, so they can't necessarily react to this quick.
Platform, huh?
And these dudes running around.
Platform,
That's fine. That's fine. Neck like Tom Brady in the 4th quarter of that Falcons Super Bowl. That's what you need to do.
Nice, nice, nice. Purified 2 rounds in a row to lead 2-1. Is Cardi B the chick that goes blah?
No, the one that goes. You don't know that one? You don't know
Who
Cardi
does
B?
the? Yeah. That
I don't know who that is, honestly. Sounds like a cat just doesn't want what you fed it for dinner.
Hey, it's not my thing.
Vegetables. Blah.
Yeah, I can't do it. My voice is too blown to do it right now. My voice has been blown since Exploits hit that sniper shot on Tomb from the second map today, man. I'm not gonna lie, blew it out. 4-3 Pioneers get the first blood. That was Bronny taking down Gary. Purified, obviously, at the man disadvantage is going to get even worse as 2 players will drop, leaving Toti by himself. He's being hunted down, though. 3 versus 1 at the moment. Toti still got the instant connection, but he's surely going to be gone. And Hndles, of course, who else is going to go ahead and rip his head off once again? No beatdowns just yet, surprising me.
I will say, though, Bronny's doing a good job of getting first blood. Back-to-back rounds, I want to say, or at least rounds number 2 and rounds number 4. He did take out Gary first, so Gary, I feel like, is going to be one of those players that has to switch things up. He's not having the best game of his life. And yeah, like I said, back-to-back first bloods going over to Bronny. But check out, still one of those maps where anything can happen at a moment's notice. So I'm going to be looking at some well-placed flashes in towards that center lane from Gary's team this time around.
Oh, I think the person who does that is Megan Thee Stallion. 2 different people. I don't know, man. It's not my scene, brother. But Hndles will pick up the nades. Toti with the incense. Unfortunately, he's down. And that's a big kill coming out from the way of Acells, hunting him down, taking him out, giving those incense out of the way, which those incense have been connecting and have been a nuisance, a thorn in the side of the Pioneers. Trades are out, though. It doesn't look like we're going to get Hndles picked up anytime soon, and Kardia just runs straight into the barrel of Acells. He'll take him out and bring it 3-2 for KCP, leading the way.
2 back-to-back rounds. You can start to see them capitalizing on him. A first blood from Acells in that round, so only 1 first blood on the side of this Purified Roster, and it's in the hands of Addvers. So even when Bronny did get first blood, one of those rounds did go in the way of Purified, so they could definitely pull something out of nothing. But free grenades almost every single round to Hndles. That's something you have to capitalize on the other side of the field.
Hndles nades in hand.
Again,
Symbol flying, he does. Symbol flying to the right. It's not. Oh, this is perfect, though, in the middle of the checkout lanes. That's at least going to reposition a couple. In fact, connect on Addvers. Instant thrown, though. Kardia connecting on the Hndles. 1 more in his hands. Oh, that looked like an easy connection, but it's going to at least give some time for a breather to go for the reset. I think so anyways. Kardia taking so much damage, manages to get away, but now because he separated himself, Gary, in a 1v2 sniper route, Xysho misses the shot. Acells goes for the pickup. Gary is going to be able to hunt them down with the Lancer. Xysho down once again. Acells going to get the pickup. It's chaotic. Purified should have the advantage, and he will. Acells will die off, or excuse me, Xysho will die. Now Acells is down. And so much was committed from KCP there, Jacob, to get their hands on a sniper. But that first shot that was missed when Xysho sent it flying, if he hits that body, KCP would have been able to reset and maybe have a chance to win that round. But because he missed that shot, and it was a tough one to hit, let's not kid ourselves, Purified was able to capitalize and make that round theirs.
Yeah, and to start off that round, Gary got pushed towards that back lane. He got the elimination, and since he got that elimination, he cemented himself, like you would say, 10 toes down to defend that throne. So let's see a different strategy this time around. This time, Hndles is being contested by Gary out wide, so Bronny's not going to have that opportunity all the same to get first blood. So they're going to be dancing around a little bit, making sure nobody feels comfortable towards that plat side.
Chat's just wild, man. 4-4. All tied up 3-3. Hndles is way off in the background. He is getting put in check, though, this time around, though, by Gary. So I think this is the first time we've truly seen like a 1v1 on the top side, because for the most part, it's really been KCP getting the nades, whereas Toti's been prioritizing the incense. This is the first round we've had that's been more of a standstill than anything else. And I was about to ask you, where's the first move going to be? Well, it looks like it was on a Kardia as KCP. They got froggy and leaped right back into another standstill.
Not going to be easy, buddy. Overtake, especially as the utility has dwindled down from both of these teams. Nobody having a single smoke or flash in hands. The Acells trying to step up at that wide right hand. Knows his teammates are in the opposition's mid lane, so Xysho definitely has to be careful here, but he's also alleviating that pressure so Acells can freely move up, but he's going to get taken down. Bronny, he's able to get that sniper and immediately put it to use. That's going to be a headshot onto Gary. Another player is going to be lost as they continue to drop like flies. It's not looking good for Purified as Pioneers will secure multiple kills and take over this round to go up 4-3 over Purified.
4-3 over Purified. There's the beatdown, and Bronny's getting some kicks in. Fair enough, right? He says, I'm on KCP now. But honestly, Bronny was always beaten down. You know, Bronny was always that guy. No matter what roster he's on, he let him know. He let him know, but Hndles took a back seat for that and said, Bronny, hey, you're newly added to the roster. You got to get your kicks in, and he did. Well done. 4-3, still close. Still very close, but that was the longest round we had yet. Bronny 7 kills to his name, 3 first bloods, getting the value, and honestly reminiscent of precision on checkout, man. We would always highlight him, right? As that guy who would just fly through checkout stands and get first blood every time. So Bronny is really fitting that role.
Yeah, it's like the plug and play, like we keep saying, that charge kit that Xbox came out with that I used so many years in a row to keep my controller going. Now it's keeping the Pioneers going in the form of Bronny, but instantly Toti goes in and escapes with those incendiary grenades. But Bronny, he finds that elimination onto Addvers anyway. He won't be slowed down. He won't be stopped as he continues to alleviate pressure from his team, getting those instants to be wasted. Gears gets chopped down in the 1v1 versus Hndles, and now KCP will swarm to secure this round.
Woo! Yeah, they definitely will, and that's going to put them at map point, an opportunity to take a 2-0 lead. 6-3 victory, maybe, but we need to see an adjustment obviously come out from Purified, and, well, that adjustment is just don't die, right? Because Bronny's got 4 first bloods now, Jacob. 4 first blood. Now, I don't have the stat in terms of how many times he's got first blood, and the KCP translated that into a W, but I do know for a fact, right, you get first blood, or you're getting first blooded, it's putting you at a big disadvantage, so just, you know, stay away from Bronny or shut him down. That's how you're gonna get back at KCP.
Keep rotation over. Looked like he was going towards nades at first, depending on what was called out. This is their moment to take advantage, especially with all those smokes. They're trying to push through, but nobody's making it out alive. Finally, Bronny's gonna fall, but Addvers gets chopped down. Kardia B, last one alive, and he is going to get taken out and dusted. The Pioneers will smooth sail to back-to-back round victories and go up 2-0 over Purified.
And like you said, up 2-0, looking like another quick series, potentially just like it was against a United and Rebel. Vasgar is going to be the next map up, and well, I'm a bit worried for Purified because KCP, they're no slouches when it comes to Vasgar, Jacob, and we know that best. Xysho, by the way, 17 assists. We'll break down both maps when we come back, but Vasgar Escalation coming up after this. And welcome back, everybody, to the Gears Pro League Split 2. I'm Taylor Reflections Noble, joined by Jacob MVPR. KCP not missing a beat since the exit of Precision, or the retirement, I should say, and obviously the addition of Bronny. Plug and play. That's been the narrative that me and Jacob have set throughout this matchup, brother. They lead 2-0, and, you know, honestly, they're looking incredible. Obviously, check out much closer than that first matchup on Regency, which ended 300-119.
I feel like the way they're looking right now, you could just lock in my season's predictions. KCP every matchup. I'm not gonna do it, but I honestly, I feel like that's what I'm gonna do. Let me lock in KCP for the remainder of the season, and don't let me change my mind.
Okay.
That's how confident I'm feeling. And guess fair, what? Dude. I'm still gonna be back to back to back to back to back to back to back. And the show goes on, man. Me and KCP, we go together like spaghetti and meatballs. Nice. We go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Heck yeah, like mac and cheese, okay? Like graham crackers with the s'mores, you know? It just all goes together, baby. You love to see it. Vasgar Escalation coming up next. KCP is the new favorite of Jacob. And honestly, I agree. You know, I was asked earlier who's going to win the championship. I don't know. It's day one, all right, guys? It's day one. But KCP is definitely a front runner, if not the front runner at this point, because I said E United earlier. I still think that's a fair pick. Rise, you know, you can argue them as well. We still have plenty of teams that we haven't seen as of yet. I'm talking about Discipline, Pittsburgh Knights, Fire and Ice, Fury 1. But regardless, though, KCP, E United, and Rise, absolutely your standout teams as of right now. So KCP heading into Vasgar, Jacob. This is, you know, in terms of Escalation, always been their bread and butter.
It's an aggressive, counterclockwise, clockwise, rotational-based map. If you're not moving, you're probably losing in most scenarios unless you have an impeccable defense. And the way Bronny has been going, it looks like we're watching the 10-month streak continue as if Precision just changed his gamer tag. But no, Bronny is definitely stepping up to the plate. We've last seen, or at least him play with the majority of this roster in that Vanquish run where they did place third, not really skipping a beat. And it was before a lot of their championship runs as well. So honestly, you cannot make the case to think if they never made that roster change, if Xysho never comes in, they probably still win those championships regardless.
You think so? If Xysho doesn't come into play?
I said it with confidence. Maybe.
But yeah, I was gonna say
Because I think Xysho was a great positive factor, but just from what we're seeing today, man, it's just hard to bet against the core of this roster.
Well, I mean, when you got to put it this way, you know, when Xysho was added to that roster, that's when they finally were able to overcome that top 3 consistent, you know, at least placements, and then win MSP. And Xysho was the one who hit that final shot, right? That final 1v2, he hit that on Tomb Execution against that of Rise, who was trying to get their first chip for their organization, but it ended up going over towards Vanquish. So hey, Xysho 100% one of the biggest factors as to why Vanquish and then ultimately KCP had the success that they were able to have. So Xysho, you can't count him out. You know, we say Powers is the best in the world, and you know I still stand by that. He's incredible, but Xysho all around might be one of the best as well. Definitely top 3. And the reason why I say that is because he's the IGL, he's smart, but he can also slay out, and his stats prove that. So big fan of Xysho and what he does, and that's why this roster has as much success. Bronny on the tank fight, finds the 1v, takes it with ease.
First blood. Somehow only getting 599 damage though, which 1% maybe went over to Xysho. I don't even know, but the show goes on. 2 hills to 1. ED, Purified, feeling that pressure to have to make that push forward, but great stun to kind of stop them in their tracks. Great shots over the top to kind of solidify the eliminations as well. Now Addvers feeling the pressure, tries to sneak somebody with the cut back, but he's going to meet that same demise. 3 players down and out. That puts some pressure onto Toti here to try to find a way to break this hill and keep his team going.
All right, Bronny down.
That's good enough.
Toti
That's honestly
crawling
good
around. Kardia will actually get there to pick up Toti, so it will be Purified at least keeping 1 hill to their name, making them feel a bit more comfortable. Still, though, looks like the retake on A is going to be there, or at least is going to be attempted. Excuse me. Obviously, KCP is going to put up a heck of a fight. Xysho missing the shot on Addvers, though, as he comes up the stairs, and ultimately he is going to pay the price for that. If Xysho hits that shot, maybe this fight goes a little bit differently, but ultimately Purified, a clean retake, didn't lose a single player.
Yeah, I just see the song right now that the Pioneers have on repeat by Jay-Z. Got 99 problems with slaying 8-1. Right now, Bronny is just slaying out map after map. And you talk about Xysho just being there, just leading the team, making sure every piece of this puzzle is in the right place at the right time to help each other. Even Acells just getting a lot of that damage, but his teammates are there to kind of alleviate that pressure yet again. They all break through, and even getting this decap with 3 players trying to Lancer in at him.
Yeah, trying to Lancer in, but they're not getting it. And it's a beautiful job from Hndles to see that opportunity to kind of slide in and ultimately take down a couple players and get rid of some of that Lancer fire to allow Hndles, obviously, to get the cleanup on the final couple of players, and KCP continues to establish that lead and control of the map. In fact, they're going to go ahead and threaten a domination. They won't get it, but the point is, Pioneers is, you know, keeping Purified guessing, keeping them at bay. Meanwhile, Pioneers continues to rack up points to get closer to 250.
Down going through. Hndles most recently getting taken down, trying to overextend, but Bronny making that sneaky play, catches one slipping, turning the 2v1 into a 1v1 scenario, leads in the shots and takes him down. That's going to be a 2v1 run by Bronny. He's looking like LeBron James' son out here. in full form. I don't care. He's dunking on everybody.
Honestly, he really is. Like
every time he gets a kill, I'm just going to scream dunked.
Is that right?
Yes, he's just dunking left and right.
He is, dude. Hey, look.
Alley-ooping him.
I said... And you know what? I got to ask you, man, is it that honeymoon period, do you think, for Bronny? Or do you think he's just like, whatever, like, I'm just here. This is what I always brought to the table. It's just finally being respected and represented.
Half of me wants to say yes. Them looking this good. Him being good, no. Them looking this good, not skipping a beat, might be a little bit honeymoony. It might be a little bit. They might have got married, stuffed themselves with some cake, and now they're enjoying the benefits of that trip to Hawaii.
Yep.
Saying hi to Precision anyway. But nah, this is the real deal.
It's
a real deal, Holyfield.
Nice.
Not the round, though.
Not the round.
Not the real deal on that round.
Can't get away from it. Going smooth. 6-second round. Quickest round I've ever seen. Not by much, though. I've seen rounds take 19 seconds.
At the stats, Acells 5-1. Him in that 1v1 spot. And that's got to, like, instill a whole different load of confidence in that core 3, knowing they made not only the right decision, they made the decision of the split.
Yep, I agree. You know, the only one to play around with, what if Powers was on this roster?
It's like 100% he fits in perfectly well. I just don't even know who you'd replace him with.
No, I'm saying if Bronny wasn't there in power, like, I don't know. I think Bronny is absolutely the best, though. I'm just playing around. Look, I just started probably discussion in chat. That's cool. Hey, I'm all up for discussions. Solid round, or at least solid start for Pioneers off the rip. Look at those shots connecting. One more and he's down, but now he's getting pressured up close. He still goes for it and tries to get the chunk. That would have been a clean play for sure, but Toti was ready for him. Xysho, back-to-back shots will take down Addvers. In the meantime, he does have a couple players in front of him on to C. Player 8's going to play around by himself over on the tank fight. Kardia is going to be just in front of him, so that's a 1v1 that he's looking to take. In the meantime, he will be spotted. So it looks like Pioneers are actually going all in. If they can win both of these fights succinctly, they will, in fact, have the domination. It's up to Hndles. Does he want to go for it? And I think he is.
Hndles in that neutral. It's going to be up to Cardi B here to hit the hit single, and he does just that. Takes him out, gets that hill, keeping his team alive and keeping some points going. You see Addvers being pushed down. He's going to get 2v1 in deep towards his own team spawn. And they're backtracking just enough to get Gary to waste his spawn shield. But Kardia there towards the backside instantly revive back in. And that's something I've always said. Your cross means absolutely nothing if they instantly get the revive and go to work.
All right, 2-1 hill advantage now over for the side of Purified. A bit of a deficit that they have to recuperate from, but they're immediately going to lose that hill advantage that they had. Where do they want to send their forces to? Well, they only have 3 of them. Plus, you got Bronny, who's watching acutely the spawn up Purified, seeing where those numbers are going to be placed, and it seems he's going to go ahead and back up, join his teammate and player 8 of Hndles to stop maybe Gary and Addvers, who might push down eventually into them. I think Purified, knowing the scoreline as it is, Jacob, most likely going to send Toti and Kardia up to challenge player 5 of Bronny. Meanwhile, they're also going to send 2 and 4 Gary and Addvers now into the tank fight, and that's exactly what's happening.
Gary's just still trying to put those cross shots to make it easier for Gary, but that crossfire is just that much better on the side of KCP as Bronny just slowly but surely backing down, playing the situation perfect, knowing his opponent has to go on the hill, but Toti with a back A for the ages takes him out, unable to break the hill just yet. He's still getting crossed out, unable to regenerate the health. Flank coming through for Acells. That's going to be Kardia taking him out. Hill's finally going to get decapped, but it's going to be up to Gary. You don't win this, you don't win the round, and you only have a few short seconds left of opportunity to let it come through, and he gets shut down by Hndles. Lucky number 4s all across the board, kills, deaths, and assists as they're up 2-0 in map count. They're up to 2-0 in round count as well.
Yeah, up 2-0. Like I said, map count 2-0. I don't see them slowing down. Taking a look, Acells with 7 kills to his name. Did someone have 13 assists? Yeah, Xysho. Xysho had what, 14 assists or 17 assists, something like that on that checkout execution, and continues to output that damage, and that's something he's known for. Selfless player, you know, he always has been. 1 kill to his name, but does 13 assists. I mean, that is just so valuable, incredible, really.
And honestly, I don't really like to call a match before it's over, but if I don't see life here from Purified, at this point, I really don't know what else to say. It doesn't seem like anything they're doing working. Even if it's a close round or a round that is getting blown out, they just have no answers. It seems like they're on a different page, and it seems like Toti needs more time under his belt with the boys.
Well, this is the thing, right? Pioneers, Purified, it's been very apparent in map 1 and map 2. When they meet head-on in a team fight, KCP wins that more often than not, right? But the thing about Purified is I don't know if any of them can match the individual talent of Bronny, Xysho, Acells, and Hndles in the 1v spots. So therefore, Purified is kind of limited. They're kind of limited of who they can send as an individual, which means Purified, you know, I'm talking about 1v spots. Gary just handles very well. But up until that point, you know, Bronny could hold a 1v spot. We've seen him do it on the tank fight early on. Hndles obviously has been doing a good job up until that point. So what am I getting at? Well, Purified is limited in how they can push fights and how they can retake kills. They have to do it with more than 2 players because more often than not, if they go to a 1v1, it's not going to go that well. Whereas KCP, they have no problem sending stragglers by themselves to be in a 1v1 or a 1v2 because they have confidence and they've proven that Bronny, Xysho, Acells, Hndles in that tight, you know, tightly contested area, 1v2 or 1vx situation, they can pull it off.
Trying to keep it, I was going to say, trying to keep the round ending. Toti with a nice flank. Gary gets a finish off with that retro. They're still in full control of the round. They're about to double up onto the score line, and this is one of those moments you need to kind of stop the momentum that's building on the side of the Pioneers. They're kind of winning 2.5 maps at this point, almost uncontested as Gary just gets the angle there. Xysho, and I like the reposition instead of just going ahead and letting loose with that retro. There's no hilt right there to gather just yet. Your teammates are winning on the other side of the map, so you don't need to be greedy.
Getting greedy, definitely something that can throw around away, man. It can really hurt you as a whole. Pioneers, though, not letting go. It's going to have the 2-1 in their favor. In the meantime, from player 4 Addvers, he's going to stay on B for the time being. He did win that 1v against Hndles. So this round, Hndles hasn't been winning his 1v spots, which is going to give an edge over towards Purified potentially anyways. And speaking of which, it looks like Purified does win the fight onto A. So this is a round that is very much so theirs.
Just look left. Just look left. Oh, they barely saw him. They barely saw him on the tail end. He almost snuck by. If they didn't spot his teammate deeper into the spawn, they'd probably run past him. The Hndles has a massive flank that can turn the tides of this round at a moment's notice, but instead they need a triple neutralization to go through. But look at the flank. Look at Addvers on the flank. Addvers is making a sneaky play towards the backside. I want to see him solidify the eliminations, and he does a good job of not even touching the hill. Perfect play being executed right before our very eyes. Now he's going to get in towards that hill, but an even bigger flank coming out from Xysho. With just a few seconds, they broke the neutral hill. Another fight's going down. It's going to be up to Xysho here because Toti has to get the break, and Kardia. He does it on the other side, just like you said. Kardia taking out Acells, flank after flank in this round. Purified peeled it off.
Made it interesting. Made it interesting, didn't they? KCP, but ultimately it just simply wasn't enough. And even if Xysho does, with the heroics, continue on and push forward, Kardia won the fight that he needed to win on the opposite end, therefore solidifying that round for the roster of Purified. So they do get a point on the board, and that's got to give them some newfound confidence, more wind in their sails, if you will. So great job from them. Now tying up this first half 2-2 would definitely be the cherry on top if they can do so. And because they do win that round as well, it keeps things neutral, right? You keep your retro, you keep your Boltok. You don't have to add a power weapon into play. And obviously because you're, it's 2-1. So regardless, though, going into the last round of the first half, best possible scenario, Purified ties it up 2-2.
I like both teams' decisions to keep the retro in play. You don't need to shock this early, especially when it comes down to 2-2s on different sides of the map. Right now, it's about putting out that firepower. Toti's getting comfortable capturing this hill. Bronny's in front of him. Bronny's probably trying to wait where he feels the most comfortable to try to go in and attack. First blood's going to happen on the other side of the map. That's going to be Kardia going down. The rest of the team is there to take this 3v2 and continue to try to push forward. Bronny shows himself on the other side of the map. He wants to try to force the triple cap domination. Nice. He's going ahead and banking on his team winning that fight, which they will. Now he has to win his, and Toti will shut him down. The lifeblood of this Purified roster strikes again.
Yeah, well done from Toti. Holding his ground, that's exactly what's expected of him, and that's going to keep Purified at least in the round. Now, they still have a lot of recovery work to do, despite them having a point lead. You got to get Pioneers off of your home hill. Easier said than done, though, especially with the Cells having that Boltok and just connecting shot after shot, and even risking his life there, maybe getting down to get the finish. Either way, though, Purified have no choice but to continue to push up. And Toti, with his own Boltok, hitting phenomenal shots. Purified, though, get their home hill, but they lost the neutral. So therefore, Pioneers still with an advantage. And mind you, Purified still hasn't got their home hill.
No, they're just falling behind in the points. It's basically almost 3-0 in terms of point capture, simply because they're not getting anything, and that 40-point deficit just took action rather quickly, and it's going to continue to build up. But Toti's trying to get this decap onto A, met with a wall of Lancer shots. Him and Kardia have to be on the same page here, because he has taken a brunt force of that damage, and they are not on the same page, and both of them getting taken out for it. That's going to be a blunder on the side of Purified that gives Pioneers complete control once more, and a free overextension to the Purified home hill.
Yep, and it's Purified, just damage control after damage control, right? Moment after moment, not as able to establish control, at least at this point in time. The closest, I guess you could argue, was at the beginning when the scoreline was very close, but they've surely been falling behind ever since, and time is starting to run thin. Time really is starting to run thin. Now you only have, go ahead and cap it. 36 seconds, 35 seconds now to make some do, to, put in some work, if you will. It is going to be another 3v3 for the home hill of Purified. Xysho once again at the forefront. He's got a beautiful angle. He's at least going to get it down, forced to retreat back. The decap still not coming through. Pioneer still in control of the home hill. Purified 15 seconds away from victory, and even there, a hair away from getting it. Now they finally get it, but is there enough time allotted? Well, 20 seconds. Going to get 10 more seconds, Jacob.
That's more than enough time to go forward, get onto the
They
hill,
did it.
get the break to come through. There needs to be a miracle to happen on the side of Pioneers to keep this round under their control, which I don't think they're going to be blessed with, as Purified rug that round, steal it away, and tie the series up right before the half. In 2 consecutive rounds, you got to think that it's at least going to wake up the Pioneers. And I think that's the scary part, is now the Pioneers are going to play this serious. So if you can win this 3rd consecutive round, you have the utmost chance to go ahead and close out this one and bring us to a map number 4.
So it's interesting. We've seen some adjustments and maybe some spots not as solidified as they once were, not necessarily for controller execution, but more so here on Vasgar Escalation. Hndles, typically your 1v player, right, has had a tough time, at least in round number 3. And mind you, he's also 5 kills. He has the 10 assists, but he's got the 9 deaths. Now, the point that I'm getting at, though, is when he usually is in that 1v spot and he has some success. Now, in round number 3, we saw him get wiped 2 times. So what was the adjustment in round 4? They sent Bronny to fight in the 1v spot again, opposite of Toti in the tank fight, right? He lost that fight too. So now I'm curious if they're playing around with Bronny being in the 1v spot and Toti being in the 1v, or Bronny being in the 1v spot or Hndles being in the 1v spot, who really is going to take over that 1v lane to be by themselves. So that's the first bit of an adjustment period that I think I've noticed from Pioneers in the series.
Yeah, Addvers is putting just enough damage to try to back down these players so they can kind of worry about him on the other end. Luckily, they did capture that neutral so quickly into the round that they got themselves about a 2-point lead before that decap came through. But Gary going down, that's not going to be good for the Purified squad. That's going to allow the Pioneers to walk in and get their own home back.
All right, 2-1 hill advantage. Pretty typical this early on, though, for Pioneers. Purified seems to wake up, though, towards the later portion of the rounds, even if they're down a little bit. And it is going to be a recovery onto D. Xysho losing that fight, at least on the top end of things. And obviously, Purified continues to push up. But they are getting some pushback from Pioneers this time around. And Bronny's been in the corner holding his ground. Addvers was trying to do the same. And even though we do see Purified take the 2-1 and the lead back, it's only going to be momentarily because Pioneers are already taking the 2-1 back in their favor. And Pioneers has been attacking and consistently staying in Purified's home hill, Jacob, as opposed to locking in their own, right? They kind of are leaving that top hill, and they've done that from the first half into the second.
Oh my god. I was about to say, was that a headshot with the Lancer? It looked like it for a moment, but it's actually Acells with the Bulltalk. They get that home hill under their control, just like we were talking about throughout most of the game, and now they're getting their only hill taken from them by Xysho, who's continuing to put out that Lancer fire, and the triple cap domination looked like it was going to come through for a moment, but a couple players, Gary and Toti, make it to the hill just in the nick of time. Toti accidentally hopping over the cover. Addvers gets the team down to come through and puts himself in such a bad spot, but on that neutral, it's going to be Kardia trying to fight with everything he can to keep his team alive. Gets the decap on the hill, but the damage is there from Xysho and the shutdown. So now triple cap domination yet again. They have to take turns risking their life and some to try to break these hills, while the Pioneers are smooth sailing with point gain.
20 seconds is all they need, though. They had 20 seconds last time, and they made it happen, but things seem to be a bit different now based on the positioning of Pioneers and how well they're set up. So it's going to be tough selling for Purified to get anywhere close. And in fact, they're not going to have a chance to get over towards E. That's going to be Pioneers winning the first round of the second half. And Acells says, I can do this all day long.
Light work. Light work. You guys didn't even work me out enough. I'm about to do some jumping jacks in between rounds just to keep the blood flowing. 3-1. Pioneers, after winning those first 2 rounds to start off the game, fall flat back to back. One of them was something that was stolen from them. So it's good to see that as the half starts up yet again, they can go ahead and continue where they left off. Looking at these weapons, though. These shot grenades making its appearance. Retros coming back into play. Standard business as usual when it comes to weapon placement.
Business as usual, and again, that's because that first half was so close, you know, and it really came down to that one round where they brought it 2-1, and Pioneers was leading 3-0. I do think Purified maybe places something at tank. I do, and I think that could be an eventuality if we go to a round 9. But at least as of now, everything is standard. Now for Purified, they have to win this round. They cannot allow KCP to be at that point. You go back to the major when Pioneers was playing, then with Precision, they were playing against Pittsburgh Knights in grand finals. Remember how close PK was to victory? They were leading 4-2 for the longest time, or 4-1, 4-2. And Pioneers were so difficult to beat. They were so difficult to put the nail in the coffin, and they continue to stay alive. And I think a lot of that was precision, making heroic and phenomenal plays. Obviously, no longer on this roster, that would be up to Bronny. But regardless, though, Pioneers are tough to shut down, and even tougher if they're the ones on that point.
Just kind of have that confidence boost that kind of works in many different ways on this initial and early shutdown from Addvers, giving up that neutral hill to the Pioneers in the early point gain. And this is where typically you see Toti in that neutral hill towards tank, kind of winning that exchange. This time around, there's no hill down there. There's no weapon just yet, so Pioneers are not getting baited into that fight, but it does look like Bronny took a massive amount of damage anyway. That's going to be cleaned up by Purified as they continue to press forward. Finally, the hill is going to be overtaken, but look at Acells. He gets spotted out from a mile away is what it seems like. Wow, he's still alive, though.
He's still alive. He's still alive. The longer he plays his life, the more time, obviously, to win the F fight without the additional Purified members joining into the mix. And, well, that was enough time, right? Because that went from a 3v2, which could have turned into a 3v3 or 3v4 if Acells doesn't stay alive as long as he did. But because he wasted the time of Toti and Addvers in that spot, they weren't able to refresh and help and assist the fight onto F. So Acells, even though he dies there, he doesn't even get close to D. He still did enough to assist his teammates.
Hndles taking shots, backing up, knowing Bronny's on the other side of things, but he gets over aggressive. He gets taken down, but Addvers continue on with that double kill. Bronny just trying to stay alive here. The more and longer he stays alive, he's going to have to send some reinforcements to worry about him, but he's just trying to get his health back. You know, Xysho's overextending with that retro on the other side of the map. There's a good couple of bullets there to start him off, but Kardia answering back with even bigger shotgun shots. Reinforcements on the way in the form of Toti. He gets downed out, but the overall kill goes to Purified, who are looking strong, and yet another round.
They're looking strong indeed. You know, again, they get better and better, it seems, as the rounds continue, you know, and that's something that they've consistently done, at least here on Vasgar Escalation, not so much on Control or Execution, but here it seems as if once the round continues, they're able to formulate better plans, see what KCP's up to, and beat them out. And again, that comes back to what I was saying before about Toti being the IGL potentially. He's a great mastermind. You know, he sees what the other team is doing and you know, formulates the best plan for success. And I think that's why Noble was so successful. And that's where Purified, I think, can really capitalize. Oh, Xysho, unfortunately, no longer in the game. This round will continue, and Purified surely are going to take it and tie it up 3-3.
Yeah, I don't think it changed up too much. I know the.
Oh, it didn't change anything. No, that was Purified.
The Grenadier just try to sneak a spot for a few seconds, but not too much to worry about right there. I almost want to see if KCP can win a round with a bot. I don't know if it can happen against this Purified roster because we've seen, like I said, a resurgence in their gameplay in this map, something that we haven't really seen too much in the first two. I think the Pioneers can put up a fight against somebody.
Against somebody. I don't know about against a pro team. That'd be low-key, like, really disrespectful. Be like, yeah, I think they can win this with the bot.
I think it was like last season or a season and a half ago. I remember Rebel did it. Identivs lagged out. They won the round regardless, but there was no bot. It was just a pure 3v4, and they still won the round.
I don't know.
I gotta ask the dumb questions. If I don't ask the dumb questions, who's gonna ask the dumb questions?
Me? I asked plenty of them.
Fair enough.
You know? Me, I ask. Hey, look, but I tell you what. That bot, he is. Matter of fact, let's pay attention to the bot. Because he is, like, dead set on being a pro league player. Like, this guy, look at him. I mean, he is hungry. Oh, he is hungry. He wants this win, brother. Toti's like, okay, bet.
Who is that? Oh, never mind.
Bet. Oh. He said, bro, I was just playing, man. Hey, I really was just playing. See, Toti's not going to handle that. Toti's not going to, he handled it very well, but he's not going to accept that.
I gotta ask you though, so what you've seen from Purified so far, what have you not seen in the first two maps that they're doing right here on Escalation?
I think because it's Escalation, it's not slower per se, but it just plays differently than Control and Execution. It's not as fast paced. So I think, and again, a testament from what I've been saying, Jacob, is that Purified gets better as the rounds continue on. So the longer the rounds, the better they get, essentially. And they have these moments, even if they lose, like even that last round, like they're on all three hills. I think that's a testament to, again, they're thinking things through, and strategically, they're going to be an excellent team. But on control and execution, where you don't have that pause, you don't have these longer rounds that take time to think things through, and you're constantly just having to battle. You're constantly just having to fight nonstop. That's where they're not going to excel. But in escalation, I think they're going to be pretty solid because they can think things through. They can slow things down. Right? They can pace it more better. But KCP, they're winning the team fights. They're outslaying them. You know, that's just the way it is.
Their second best game mode would, in theory, be the execution because of those pauses.
No, because the rounds are still they're still lightning fast, where you have to square up. You know.
Yeah, he says square up.
You gotta square up. I mean, it's the way it is. Granted, you know, checkout was okay. It was 6-3. But the point I'm getting, the slaying power for Purified isn't that strong. It's just not. And it makes sense because it's, you know, it's that Elevate roster that was always known for teamwork.
Barbecue, we got Addvers, we got Toti getting served up, and the worst part about that, it wasn't an impact grenade. They died because they just got charboiled. They just got cooked up.
And look,
they overstayed their welcome.
I like me a good charboiled burger.
I haven't had a good burger in a while.
You know, I do. I really do. It looks like Purified struggling at the moment, but it does bring it to a 2v2 instead of a 3v3. But still, you gotta. Well, Bronny doesn't care. See, Bronny's gonna push this. Bronny really is gonna push that. Like, you know what? Nobody would have. I know I wouldn't have been against Bronny. You know, kind of just chilling out, hanging back, making Purified go into the open. But Bronny he doesn't have the time for that. He doesn't have the patience for that. He's just gonna push you.
Addvers losing a 1v1 to Xysho. Everybody kind of rotating back from that neutral, which they just captured, so they can 3-man push it. And they have to 3-man push it now, not let reinforcements rotate on over across the map. Almost a wild shot from Acells, but it's not going to be enough. He gets shut down by Gary and the rest of the cross. That fourth player coming up, he's going to rotate towards the neutral, where you currently see Bronny getting that decap, but one step at a time. Purified got their home hill back, and now if you look at the minimap, they're dispersing to try and get in position.
Big lead for KCP. I've talked about, obviously, with the rounds continuing on, Purified gets better. They finally do take the 2-1, well, almost take the 2-1 hill advantage. They're very worried about Bronny. They want to get him out of the way, which they do. Bit of a mismatch, though, over here on the other side. It's going to be a 3v2. A lot of bloodshed. Pioneers, hold on.
Clean him out. 2 players dead. Bronny's going to be the only one down for the Pioneers. Addvers trying to break that hill of the Pioneers. He's getting spawned on, though, so it's about wasting time. Maybe even taking one to the grave with you, which he gets absolutely neither. That hill is going to be immediately captured back up, and it's this late into the game. Just Hndles needs to stay alive. They need a full wipe on the side of Purified. I almost even need to think to go forward here, but after getting that capture, Toti's going to have to think about that neutral, which nobody has their eyes set on their backside. Maybe that job is going to be left up for Addvers here as he spawns on up. Acells gets taken down. Kardia only for a moment as he gets revived back up. Hndles is trying to be the distraction. He gets tossed and turned back to the respawn screen as Xysho going to be one last man standing. Reaction shot taken one, pushing forward, bouncing around, not letting Kardia touch the hill, and the round will be secured by points by the Pioneers, and they will be on match and series point over this Purified roster.
And always scary to see that, isn't it? It's 4-3 in KCP, so close to victory. You don't see them blow these leads too often, and now we will finally see a power weapon potentially go down. And if it's going to happen, it's going to be Acells, which I'm in agreement for this. I'm actually totally for this because you already have your Ensign, you already have your Shock. If you don't favor the Retro, fair enough. Force the fight on the tank, plus you have a rival spawn. So now you got the M-bar, and you have a rival spawn, plus you have all the utility that you need. So Tony's got to make a decision. Do I want the Ensign? Do I want to disable one of those utility items? Well, he's going to go for the Ensign. So now it's up to, you know, whoever grabs that Ensign, more importantly, whoever grabs the Shock, Jacob, they have to place it very well because I could foresee KCP going for a quick pick on M-bar relatively soon.
It is their good side for it. I will say nobody's at least showing it on the minimap. They're not showing their hands like they want to get this quick pick, allowing everybody really to get in a position. Addvers is going to be watching the flank, but also playing that flex rotate positioning. As soon as they heard that call for 4, that's why Addvers is staying in that spot, but the cross is going through. Toti, he team kills Gary. Addvers is only able to get it down, which wasn't cleaned up. In fact, it was the opposite. Revive and back into the action, and that's going to allow them to kind of spread their numbers wide a little bit if they so choose. But quickly off of respawn is Gary. Hopefully he can make the right right decision. Get back into fray because nobody has lost anything just yet.
Nobody's lost anything just yet, which is surprising, getting that Pioneer's not as aggressive on that M bar, but granted the shock was also placed correctly, and that's what you have to do, especially when a power weapon is placed and you know the other team is going to be on the arrival spawn. On that tank placement, they can go for the quick pick. Rebel was a team that loved to do that, and they continue to love to do that. We didn't see Vasgar from them today, of course, but we ended up seeing training grounds. But the same sentiment is, is there. You got to be ready with that shock placement, and if it's well, you can at least keep a standstill, which is what we see now. And you can respect with all 4 members from both rosters, as you said, Jacob, being here for the M-bar play. Nobody wants to deviate. Nobody wants to go to E. That's immediately going to pop up in the minimap. You know it's a mismatch, and then the other team who has the man advantage are going to continue to push forward. But either way, we do have a bit of a mid battle. Addvers trying to keep Acells at bay.
I like the daring move from Acells, though. He knows he can't go towards the neutral. That puts him too far out of the fight. And the advantage for Purified to press through, not only get the eliminations, but get that M-bar as well. So he's just trying to draw an extra man over. A couple people to worry about him, and then that's when his team can kind of strike. But I will say, I think the play right now is with Gary and that flash. I know Xysho has one. They're trying to make a play of their own. There it goes, countered back, but used defensively is going to be the biggest difference here, as one elimination does get picked up by Bronny, but the rest of the eliminations fall in way of Purified. They get themselves the M-bar as well, and you can already see the win condition. Half of the game is gone before anybody made a move.
Half of the game, like you said. Now, this is where things get weird, because with the half of the game, as you mentioned, being gone, now it puts a little bit more pressure on the team that is going to be at a disadvantage, which, surprisingly enough, really isn't anybody. Purified still doesn't have the 2-1. In fact, they're going to lose it. And Acells is going to win a huge 2v. Well, maybe not. There he is. Finally gets it. And this is why I said things start to get worrisome, because so much time was
doing, Addvers? What are you doing, Addvers? You could have broke the hill. You needed that. Even while down, he does not make the right play.
Nice one.
Oh, no.
Even
now,
so,
imagine if he gets that break.
Yeah. Could have been a domination very shortly. 3 down for KCP. Hndles now. That's 4 out of the way. And what a time to do that when Pioneer's so close to victory, just 20 seconds away. Pioneer still a chance to recover here. Toti with the most important shots of this round. No. And then Xysho with the team kill on the Bronny. Talk about uncharacteristic plays. Purified, they win this round, and they send it to a round 9, surely.
Yeah, what a nice turnaround, though. Even though he was down, I'm wondering why Addvers isn't crawling. He just eliminates himself just to get right back into the field. I will say, he didn't impact a single thing since dying and getting back into the field. So yes, he could have still made that play to get the decap. It could have been a lot closer, but I will say overall, Purified tie it up, bringing us to a round number 9, something that they need to keep the series going.
Man, that's tough. It really is. Despite the mistake, though, they still win it, as you mentioned. That's big. That really is big. KCP had that in the bag. If they don't get wiped off the map like that, man, Purified doesn't win that. It was just 20 seconds. Yeah. That, I mean, even if they lost 2 players there, I'm still confident Purified didn't win that. But they didn't. They didn't lose a single player, and they ended up eliminating all 4 members of Pioneers. Literally the perfect case scenario. And this went from looking like a series that was going to be quickly over with to a series that might continue.
Within Sins, you can see him rotating him over. They didn't stop on the side of the Pioneers just yet. A trade in kills. That's going to be Toti and Acells. Hndles finds +1 for his team. Incin over the top by Addvers. That's going to be evened up. Nobody getting the M-bar just yet. Nobody really getting that neutral hill. So this is going to be a double initial if it does present the opportunity with everybody coming off a respawn.
Still, though, tank fight well underway. M-bar not in play just yet. Well, it is on the ground, excuse me, but no one's able to get it at the moment. Obviously, everybody wants to fight for this with one player being down. Though, look at Killfeed lighting up blue. Purified might be able to do this, and they, in fact, will. And you want to talk about flipping the script. Despite their struggles, it seems as if they are, in fact, well on their way to victory here, and they could be, quickly there, depending on how this next or these next couple of engagements go.
Yeah, Toti spots him out. That's going to be Toti and Gary. Rotating back, M-barring across the map, even still trying to use his awareness and using that power weapon to its most advantage. Hndles goes down on one side. Quick down and revive for Kardia. Addvers takes out Xysho. It's just an all-out war. All-out trades from both of these teams. The Pioneers will cement their own home hill back, but still 2 hills to 1 in favor of Purified. And even though it's only a few points now, the longer the Pioneers take to come off of respawn and make their push, that's how big the lead's going to be.
All right, 2-1 advantage for Purified. Gary, M-bar in hand, can't connect, and then, in fact, that's going to force him off. Acells might be able to get at least a decap here. He can't stay there because Purified's going to be coming off the respawn, but a bit of a misroll from Addvers will put him in the grave. Hndles can't get the team revive just yet, but can he get the finish on one of the players? Well, yes, he can, but even so, it comes down to a 2v1. And Kardia will, in fact, die off in the meantime. So Pioneers will recover the 2-1 in a time where they absolutely needed it. And I believe M-bar is going to be coming up relatively soon. Just 45 seconds. So with Pioneers holding on to F, or at least trying to hold on to F, if they can hold this side of the map, having that M-bar for late game is going to be massive.
Double flashes. None of them actually connecting with Bronny. It was a little bit of a surprise here as the hill's yet to be captured. But you see two players of the Pioneers make it 3, going for that triple cap, narrowly missing by inches for the impact as Toti gets shut down by Xysho. Acells finds one of his own, down from Addvers, but that's where it's going to stop. Two players being seen rotate across. That's going to give Hndles the wherewithal to backtrack in his steps, not getting over aggressive and setting up, which is going to come from an eventual push.
Do or die for Purified at this point, Jacob. 2 fights that need to be won. Hndles in a 1v2. Oh no, things are looking dim already. Toti and Gary have already died off here, and Hndles is still holding his ground in a 1v2 on the opposite side of the map as well. He does die, but player 6, Xysho, because Toti and Gary ended up dying off, Xysho's able to get onto that top hill to maintain the hill advantage, for the Pioneers with the double cap coming into play. Just 10 seconds remain, and there's still a chance. There is still a chance if player 1 can get over towards E and win the fight against Xysho.
Yeah, Gary just needs to go massive, though. He needs a 2v1 on that side of the map. He's going to get shut down. As soon as they win that home hill, they need to continue on going, but he's only able to get 1, and that's going to be the game. Off of points, the Pioneers have closed it out and closed out a 3-0 series over Purified.
Yeah, excellent job from KCP. Acells, MVP, 23 kills, 21 assists, 25k damage done. Excellent work coming out from him. The weakest map we saw from KCP, but even so, still a W at the end of the day. The series going their way without question. But, you know, some things to take away from this, from that KCP victory, Jacob. We did see some adjustments, right? Hndles in a 1v spot, switching back to Bronny, ultimately switching back to Hndles to go back to Bronny. There are some adjustments being made. They're still filling themselves out. But when it comes to control and execution, though, it's pretty standard. Plug and play, as we've been saying. They're looking solid. So, hey, when it comes to Vasgar Escalation, it's not going to be an easy fight for any team to play against them, but there is a silver lining. It could be a map that you could take off of them from what we just witnessed.
Yeah, it does show that they still have a foundation to build off of on the side of Purified, but Toti and the rest of the crew definitely have their work cut out for them, which is the majority of the game modes, like you said, control and execution. They did not look strong. They did not look pretty. It wasn't until this third map, Escalation, and honestly, the map that every one of these players should have the most play time on, so you could see why they might have the most defense, the most potential to come back in the series, but control and execution, you definitely know what you need to practice on for this next, I want to say coming day, but you only have a few hours to kind of prepare for your next match, which is going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be tomorrow. It comes quick, right? The schedule for Gears Pro League is quite brutal, quite grueling, if you will. And that's why, you know, I have even more respect for the pros that continue to play scrim. But, you know, it is the start. Vacation is over with. And hopefully for all the teams that did compete today, it was made very apparent that vacation's over with, and they're going to need to get back to work and quickly. But it was an excellent day, and for KCP to be back on top, well, they never left anyways. You know, that leaderboard, the standings are going to be looking pretty stacked, but honestly are going to look the way that you would expect them to look. No surprise is what I'm getting at.
For the most part.
Yeah.
For the most part, but that's kind of like the trend, maybe. I don't know. I might just be speaking just to speak when it comes to that part, but I think, yeah, I think the teams in game 1?
No, split 1.
Or day 1? I know, but in day 1?
In day 1, yeah. No, remember Noble beat KCP day 1.
But is that really an upset?
You know. I think it was.
I got outvoted.
KCP was
I got
still the
outvoted,
champs.
so it doesn't matter what I think.
They were still the champs, you know, and they lost that. But I mean, no, I mean, still, the point. This is probably the most clear-cut day that I was expecting. Because I got all 3 predictions right.
I mean, everybody did.
Everybody. You know what? Pat yourselves on the back. Everybody, including chat. We were all right. Everybody was right. Everybody won the day. And that's
I won't lie. I was a little scared to start the day with my predictions.
Queso was serious.
Yeah, me in the
Queso
first half.
was serious. Absolute facts. But Rise got it in the end. All right, Rise got it in. But KCP, well done. Purified, control. Got to work on control, and that just comes down to slaying power, in my opinion. Check out execution, not bad, actually. They did a great job capitalizing with Toti, getting those instants pretty consistently. And when they got the instants, they made the most of them. KCP just felt through it, though. And Bronny had several first bloods. So he did a wonderful job, fitting in and obviously replacing that at precision. I think he did an excellent job. Vasgar, though, was definitely the best performance from Purified. I think as a whole, Purified struggled here and there, but they did show promise. I think the skill ceiling for Purified is pretty high. Once they get their legs underneath them, especially by the end of Split 2, going into the Major, I think Purified is going to be a serious contender.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to bet against history. And history says whatever team Toti goes to, they just simply get better. They kind of figure it out. And it started off when he first went over, I want to say, towards that Noble squad. They might have not been Noble at the time, but it started off with that. And then you add in Jackal to that roster, and you can, or not, yeah, at the time it was Jackal with that roster. And then they just got better. Every time Toti goes somewhere, he brings success, or at least he brings the blueprint for success. And that's where I was thinking, even though they got beat down deep into the ground, Purified, I think Toti kind of chose this roster not for what they've been known to do, but for the potential that he sees in them.
Yeah, and Toti is that guy. Again, I respect his drive and his ability to want to be a champion, and he still wants to be that champion, and I believe in the guy. I really do. One of my favorite players when it comes to the Gears Pro League. There was a lot of great plays today and a lot of great series, but we had to narrow down to just one fantastic play, and this one, in my opinion, really does take the cake as the best one. This is going to be your eSwap X Pro Controller play of the day.
We got who ends them over the top. Oh, no.
See, just, you know what? Hey, and at that point, what were you saying? Oh, he's looking like a shell of himself. And then he comes through and gets the three-piece? My guy, that's not a shell of Insum. That's Insum in full. That disrespected Queso. And we talked about how good Queso was, and then Insum comes through and gets the eSwap X play of the day. Hey, Insum's back. I don't care what anybody says. Maybe a little rusty, but he's back. Okay, and he's only going to continue to get better and better and better. Now, the question is Riot going to be scrimming? I don't know.
I hope so.
I hope so.
Not for the core three, but let Insum get used to this tuning. Let Insum get used, get some more reps under his belt. I don't even know. I know a lot more scrims have been streamed, but that only goes to show like a fraction of the overall scrims within the atmosphere for some of these teams. And I just hope there's more reps. And I want Insum to go back to the OG days, back when he was at his best in his career, playing those wagers, playing the after hours, playing the things that really make you the superstar caliber player we know he can be.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look at our results of the day. Several matches in them taking play, at least we saw 3 of them on main broadcast, but we also had some side station just to run you through it. If you're just joining us, Rise ended up beating Team Queso 3-1. That's where you just witnessed the eSwap X play of the day. And obviously great. Insum getting that 3-piece. Discipline, though, suffering a pretty heavy loss to Pittsburgh Knights, 3-0. PK, though, the standout team, second place during the fall major, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to watch them tomorrow, this time playing with Fiercely. We'll see how that adjustment is going to end up working out. Or excuse me, Fiercely, Dezo, Raver, and Monkeys. EU United beat Rebel 3-0. Absolutely on fire. Incredible job from them, though. Exploits, I'm sure, is going to be a big factor for Rebel as a whole. Fury 1 beating that of Fire and Ice. That was a pretty one-sided. Outside from the escalation, everything was really one-sided to Fury 1, and obviously KCP back on top, winning against Purified. So, hey, like I said, not a lot of surprises today. I'm sure we'll get more as the split does continue, but either way, for your day 1 results, Jacob, there you are. Let's take a look at our standings, Jacob. What are we seeing?
We're just seeing a bunch of 100% win rates for our top 4 teams tied for first place. One of them being Fury 1. I'm proud of these guys. Welcome to the Pro League. Glad to have it. Let's see how long that record can stay pristine and flawless. But for United, Pioneers, and Pittsburgh Knights, it's already looking like those roster changes are exactly what they needed.
Yep, absolutely. Rebel down there in 0-1, but granted, hey, they had to play against a hot and ready E United. I'm sure Rebel is going to be just fine. Really liked what I saw from them today. Purified, I think, is going to be okay. Biggest questions I have: Fire and Ice discipline. How well are they going to do whenever it comes to Pro League? I'm not so certain. I'm really not. Fire and Ice playing now with Nash instead of Xavi. I think Nash is a fantastic player in his own right. I think he's just as good as Xavi is in multiple ways. So, we'll have to see how their performance is going to be, but they might be the outliers for the bottom ends. Maybe the team's trying to avoid relegation, but it's only day one. We still have multiple days to go, and I could be very wrong. That's just me speculating, but I think it was an incredible day, Jacob. I really was. And tomorrow is going to be just as good. I know our schedule's ready to go for that one, and I know we're not going to be casting. It's going to be Colin and Blaze, but hey, they're going to have an action-packed day without question, Jacob.
No, they definitely are. Look at the matches already. Pioneers versus Fury 1. Somebody's record is already going to have some mud on it. Rise versus Fire and Ice. Rebel versus Purified. Two teams that had a decent showing, unless you look at the record itself. Team Queso versus Discipline. And one of the matchups I think we all love to see, United versus the Pittsburgh Knights. And I love that one being kind of the matchup to watch because it's Dyslexic's matchup against another Latin American team.
And not to mention, too, Rebel Purified, right? Toti playing against Exploits. So that's going to be a fun one. It really is. No matter where you go, you got to mention all the Noble members who have kind of, dispersed and split off the different rosters. So at some point or another, they're going to have to play against each other. With as many roster changes that ended up taking place, it's inevitable. You're going to be playing an ex-teammate, but that makes for great storylines and honestly, in my opinion, better performances from the players themselves. Everybody wants to beat an ex-teammate. No one wants to lose to your ex-teammate, right? Because then it's kind of like, man, that hurts. It hurts, man. I made that roster change. I left to the team that ended up losing to your team. It's never a good thing, even if it's in good spirits. The competitiveness absolutely has to come out. But Jacob, it was a great day. It really was, brother. What are your final words before we get out of here?
I'm just happy to see some of these new guns really have a shot. And some of these guys like Bronny winning their first championship, and some of these guys just getting that first taste of the Pro League, their first taste of a complete roster. And that's one thing I'm always going to be happy for. You guys can always look at the negatives, but I'm a glass half full type of guy, and I'm always going to look at the positive side of things.
Fair enough, Jacob. Hey, it was an incredible day. Honestly, I enjoyed casting it. There was a lot of great moments.
Always, man.
Absolutely. Always working alongside you, or whether it be Colin or Blaze, it's always a great time. And also a great time to have you out there in the chat. I hope you guys earned all your points for your watching wins. That Ash Fall skin set, absolutely beautiful. Be back tomorrow, right? We'll be live once again at 5 Eastern time here on the Xbox channel. Hit the follow button if you haven't already. And also follow Gears Esports on Twitter so you never miss out on what is taking place. But for myself, Taylor Reflections Noble, Jacob MVPR, the cool guy of the bunch, as well as our production team, you in chat. Thank you so much for being here. Be back tomorrow. Gears Pro League Split 2, Day 2 will continue, 5 Eastern. We would love to have you.